why we are talking much about digital divide these days, right? It's not a, it has become a buzzword these days, but it was not a new word, right? This was existing for the last few decades. Why this digitally divided, and what type of issues with the technology and when it comes to learning. So this has become a very vital subject after the pandemic, because many people or the many students didn't have access to education. Therefore, all the platforms went onto the digital platforms, right? So let me go in, like, what is digital divide? Actually, if you're talking about digital divide, it's a gap. Actually, it's a gap between demographics and the regions that have access to modern information and communication technology. Right? So it's something to do with the gap. Whenever you say the divide, it comes into our mind. Right? It can be countries, it can be areas, it can be communities. If you see the wider picture, right? If you see into this picture, you can see what type of a wider digital divide we can see. If you take social, in the social side, between old and young, there's a divide, and disability versus fit, right? Sometimes if it is a disabled person, how can he or she can access the digital technology or the education or through the digital access? Those are the issues. And then the literacy skills, right? After that, then if you look at the economy side, then underdeveloped nations versus first world countries, you know, there's a huge gap between underdeveloped countries like us and also the first world countries, and poverty and many things. Then geographically, if you take even in Sri Lanka, how geographically we are divided when it comes to the technology. Like today also, I went out of Colombo in the morning, early morning, and to the place I went, it's not that far. It is in Avisavela. I didn't have access to my internet in my phone, right? So it just like kind of a surprise to me. Like it was not that far from Colombo, right? Avisavela is very close to Colombo. So that kind of a geographical and the rural and suburban divide is also there. And again, when it comes to the people, they have a fear of technology. When you take the approach, fear of technology, we call it technophobes, right? So that is also some other thing. Then when it comes to culture, there are many barriers like ethnicity, language, and also the education level, the family, and many digital divide things we can talk about, right? Right. So types of, if you take the types of digital divide, I'll go through very quickly. We can talk about three types. The access divide, that is actually, it refers to the socio-economic differences between people, right? So whether they can afford it, whether they can't afford it, it will depend with the countries, with the people, with the geographies, and all these. Then the use divide is, when you're talking about the use divide, it's actually the skill level possessed by the individuals, right? What type of a skills level, and there will be a like generation gap, like from the millennials to generation X, and when it comes to Y, and there are some tech savvies and many type of digital divides are there when it comes to the skill possessed by the individuals. Then quality of use gap. This is kind of a bit complicated term, quality of use of gap. The people use the internet, and fact that some people are far more able to get information daily. That means like if I access, and the amount of information I absorb or the gather is different to some other person use the same material and getting it. And maybe I prefer the textual mode, maybe that person prefers the video mode, and he grabs more with the video. Like that kind of the quality of use gap is also there. When it comes to Sri Lanka's digital divide, if you talk about that, right? Yes, Sri Lanka has a digital divide, right? And also this is goes across like categories of gender, geographic location, socioeconomic class, and many more, as we have mentioned earlier. if you go into like, this is some fact I came around when I'm searching about this, like it was a study done by UNICEF, like this is done in 2018 before the pandemic. The 68% of boys and only 33% of girls have access to the internet in Sri Lanka. So it kind of a surprise to me, but that is a fact at that time. But we don't know, we talk about that, we don't know after the COVID, after the pandemic, with how these statistics have changed and what happened after that. So these also, like in Sri Lanka, the computer literacy is 30.1. That means 1 out of 4 persons are computer literate. That is the population between 5 and 69. And that is the computer literacy means ability to use a computer. Then digital literacy means ability to access, either find it, analyze, evaluate, utilize, share, and create using information technologies and the internet. That is 44.3%. That means 2 out of 5% are digitally literate. Right? The same thing, like 30.1 population, and this was 2019 statistics. And if you compare with the region, we can find we are, I don't say it's better, like comparatively, we are ahead of India, Pakistan, and respectively Bangladesh is 13%, right? And the other thing is like 33% of digital literate, if you take, then within that also we can see male 48, female 41.1, the highest between 15 and 13, it's about 70%. We know like they are more digital savvy and new generation. So moreover, we get the sex, age, level of education as we have discussed earlier. And also another fact is only 22%, 22.2% household own a desktop or laptop. But nowadays it has shifted because many of we have smartphones. Earlier it was about like 40%. Now it has gone up to 70.9% the smartphone penetration. And with that, the majority of internet connectivity, we can assume that via mobile broadband. And we can see wherever we go in the road also, people look at the mobile phones and access and do many, many things. So, but in this lockdown, what came into our mind is like whether with everything, the income sources are locked and people couldn't access to the people have stopped working and all these things. So what is the affordability of these technologies, right? Then talk about the digital divide and the education, right? So the impact of digital divide in education have been very, very significant. We have seen it, like it differ even in the same school, right? Within the same group of people, the access to the internet is different. Access to the internet has changed, and also with the districts and with the income level and also undeserved student and many divisions were there within that as well, right? This is the actual reality. Actually, if you're talking, this is the actual reality. The student in remote villages was taken by AP photography. So this is the actual reality we can see these days. But hope we will get access to the physical classes. And but same time, what I feel is like even though we have started physical classes, many things now have partly, at least partly, the education has shifted to digital platforms. Many education institutes started conducting classes and night classes, and time has become irrespective. Earlier, like only learning was like up to 6 o'clock, now even 10 o'clock, and early morning 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, there are classes conducting. So therefore, things might change, maybe blended education system and many things will take in place, but still it's early to tell like to what extent this will happen in Sri Lanka. Right? Then to overcome the digital divide, like in forthcoming, Dr. Shehan and Lakmal also will talk about what type of things they have taken and in practical examples as well, right? And those with the computer and the access to the internet are becoming even richer. That is the fact I want to tell, right? the people who have the internet, or the student they get more knowledge. Even the people who have the access to the digital technologies get more knowledge, and they accumulate the wealth. And what will happen? The people who don't have the access will get even poorer. Right? It is actually one of the very bad results due to this. Right. So what need to happen, or what should happen, is actually to allow people to have the universal access, right? This is actually something to do with the policymakers, government, and even the organizations related to that, including all the private and public partnership, maybe many kind of a collaboration, but to ensure that universal access and to all, right? At the same time, we should change the attitude. The thing is like, earlier, like computer was a luxury, mobile phone was a luxury, but anymore computer or the mobile phone or a internet is not a luxury, right? And even though recently, like the mobile phone and some stuff are included into luxury items, and even they impose certain barriers to import and so on, that because of that, we have seen how the prices have gone up in certain digital devices, right? So that is a issue, like the government also should look into. And also the public must realize that the power of the new technologies and how to embrace them. Sometimes, like even I have seen students, the parents are scolding students like they're addicting to digital technologies, always on the phone, and sometimes like it's not true. Like they have born with, we have to understand that generation, new generation is born with the digital technology and born with the computer and the mobile phone with them. The time I accessed, the first time I used the mobile phone when I came to the university, right? But now even my 2-year-old kid also knows how to handle the phone. So that is the level of technology advancement, and they have the access. We didn't have the access, right? So, but therefore they are growing with that technology, and they are growing with that devices. Therefore, the public, or us, or the we should understand that we have to access, we have to accept that, and also we should know what is the power and also the limitations of that. And also then the government and institution involvement is a must, actually, because how to make this affordable to the general public, and make available the technologies, and reduce this digital gap, or the wide of width of this digital divide. So that is what I want to tell, emphasis. And so with that, I conclude my small presentation, and it's up to Lakmal now.